Yo, what's up? Chris Simms Unbuttoned, and I am here with the Philadelphia Eagles' own head coach, Nick Sirianni. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, so you won the first award of the day, for sure. You know what that is, right?
What was that?
The coolest swag thing to wear?
Well, sure.
I mean, all these coaches dress like nerds over here.
Now, what if the Sixers were like in last place? We're almost in first place here. So
Either way, like you're good.
Good. I'm always looking to win.
Even if they stunk, that's a cool jacket. All right, so you're good.
Appreciate
and I'm a
it.
Nets fan, and you just stole damn James Harden, so I'm kind of pissed at you guys.
I think we won that trade right
You
there.
think? I think. I mean, damn. All right, year itself was great. It was unbelievable, really. Congratulations. I mean, I think first off, it exceeded people's expectations, and I don't know what you think about that, but it certainly did. My first thing I want to ask you, with the moment during the year where the light went on to maybe change the offensive attack for how you play and maybe make it more about the run and the movement with Jalen Hurts. Yeah. What was the moment or the light bulb that you could tell me about?
I think you come into a year and you're like, hey, we're gonna figure out what our players do best and try to do that. Well, you want that to happen immediately, right? You want it to be day one. I know exactly what these guys can do and what they're good at, and we spend all this time. And we're going to do that. But it takes time.
Sure.
It takes time. And you come out and in week one, you have a pretty big-time offensive explosion and beat Atlanta. You're like, well, okay, this is it.
Yeah, right.
Well, it didn't go that well the next couple games, right? And then you get to game 2 and game 3. Then you get to game 4, and I don't think we punted against the Chiefs that week.
Yeah, right. High-scoring game in Philadelphia, right.
Jalen played a really good game, and then 5 and 6, and you're like, so something wasn't working, right? And as hard as to get ready for a short week on a Thursday night game is,
right.
If you're diligent and you put in the work afterwards, you get yourself a mini bye.
Right.
Not just to rest your body, but to evaluate your team. So, game 5 and 6, our sixth game was against Tampa.
Yeah, the Thursday night. You guys battled back and made it close late.
Yeah. And we were able to spend that weekend of like, okay, let's really dive into what's working. Well, what was working a little bit more was instead of some of the drop back game, it was more of the max play actions. Well, how do you get the max play actions to work? Well, you better be able to run the football better. And how do you take it off Jalen a little bit more? And you better be able to run the football. And we got those hogs up front to run behind.
Right.
And so we really benefited at that time of the year from that mini bye.
Yeah.
And
that's when it started. I mean,
that's kind of where.
Next week was the Raiders game, and you guys started to steamroll people up front.
Yeah, no, it was the Raiders game, and then we lost that game.
I know
but it started to change a little bit, and then it was the Lions game.
Right.
I always like to brag on my brother. My brother was a great high school football coach.
Right.
He doesn't coach high school football anymore, but he had won a state championship in the pro system.
Yeah.
His guys graduated, a couple years go by. Then he wins a state championship in the spread system.
Right.
Those guys graduate, a couple years go by, and he's like, all right, we don't got those same dudes now.
Yeah.
We're going to learn the wing tee. He went to the state championship game in the wing tee. And so I'm like, if I didn't adjust, my brother, I wouldn't have been able to go home for holidays and stuff like that.
You're the coach of the Eagles? What are you doing?
But, and I think, and at the end of the day, right, we were able to, have a successful season, get into the playoffs. We want better than that. But like the secret to coaching, you want to know what it is?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Have good players. And that's what, and we had some good players. I was really fortunate to come into Philadelphia. I think when teams when new head coaches go into a new situation, I think a pretty common theme would be like, hey, they were really not any good on the O-line, D-line. That was so not the case.
I know it wasn't.
And that was our strength of our team, and Howie and his staff have done just such a good job of building this football team that I stepped into a pretty unique spot. Kind of unique in the sense, like, I felt like it was like, Indy a little bit. Like when Frank and I got to Indy, we had Andrew.
Right.
We had Andrew Luck.
Right.
Like that was a unique situation.
Yes, right.
And so
the O-line and a little bit of that.
Right.
Quentin Nelson and company.
And so it was like I was really blessed and fortunate to step into a really good situation and a really good organization.
It's interesting to hear that it came out kind of organically because now when you put it in that way, you can kind of see like, wait, yeah, there was success a little early on. You go, okay, we're going to continue to play this, but then you had that moment to go, okay, it's not as successful as we want, and now we can, turn the page and get to a new style of football. All right, with your quarterback specifically, I mean, seems like he's got it all, as the charisma, being able to lead the locker room. He improved as a player, certainly. But what do you want to see? Where do you want to see the next area of growth from Jalen?
He has these great intangibles.
Right.
This is what this week's about. Like, is how do we find guys? We know how to spot talent. We're looking at talent, but how do we find the guys that love football?
Right.
That are competitive.
Yeah. Right.
That are tough. That have high character.
Yeah.
And they have high football IQ.
Right,
How do we find those guys? And I know that's hard. That's a lot of intangibles right there.
Right.
But I was always taught, that, and Frank Reich would say this all the time, that those guys that have those things, they're going to reach their ceiling. Unless an injury or something, they're going to reach their ceiling because they're going to put in the work of all those things. Jalen has all those things.
Right.
And I think that's why you continue to see him get better each year. Whether it's from Alabama to Oklahoma or Oklahoma to his first year in the NFL or his first year in the NFL to the second year, we're expecting those same gains.
Yeah, right.
I think what you see with Jalen is he has, he's able to throw the ball. I always look at arm strength. I was always taught arm strength's the fourth big one, right?
Yeah, right.
It's got to be above the line.
Yeah.
But as long as it's above the line,
you can make it happen.
You can make it happen.
Right.
It's above the line, right?
Right.
He's got
Throws
a good
a pretty
arm.
deep ball.
Pretty deep ball.
Yeah.
He's able to battle the elements in Philadelphia at the end of the year.
Right.
We all know that his superpower is to be able to extend plays.
Yeah.
And what you saw this year is that, he early in the year he's extending plays and making plays with his feet.
Right.
Well, then you saw him extend plays and then find his receivers downfield for huge plays into success for our season, and that helped us get into the playoffs. And every quarterback's always going to want to improve their decision making, their processing speed, and their accuracy.
Right.
And so that's where we are. Is wanting to really improve there. And I think
precision within the pocket, kind of that, which showed itself a little in the Bucs playoff game.
Right, where he escaped early, and of course you want to be able, and that's part of the decision making, right? He's open now, throw it, rip it, right? And that's what we want to continue to get better at. And I think. Right, we see it. You see Tom Brady late in his career, and you saw Drew Brees late in his career. And I was fortunate to be around Phillip Rivers for what seemed like 10 years, but I think it was like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
But we had him that last year in Indianapolis, and he was just as good then, if not better, than he was when I first got to San Diego. Why? Because they had seen everything, right? And they had processed everything.
Sure.
They had seen this play versus cover 4, cover 3. 2-man, whatever it is, over and over and over again, and knew exactly where to go with the ball. And so I think that will continue to develop in Jalen. I know that will continue to develop with him. And then he's just going to continue to work on those accuracy and that decision making. And I think and when he continues to do that, he'll be better as a football player, as you well know. But I do see him making strides in those areas.
Right. It seems like it. He certainly had moments of showing precision passing. And like you said, the one thing I know about the damn guy is when he gets in front of the podium, you go, damn, he's got charisma, and the way the team talks about him, he knows how to lead guys, and I think that's the part that a lot of people miss.
He's so here.
Always.
He's so steady,
Always.
and I think if you look at me on the sideline, if a ref makes a bad call, sometimes I'm all in, I'd lose it a little bit, but he's so steady. We all know he makes this unbelievable run against New Orleans to put us up 40-23 or whatever it is.
Right.
He makes an unbelievable play, and his face, I come off the side, I'm like, hey, we can smile now. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
And he's
dead serious still, right?
And then we're in our Washington game, and he had thrown a pick and fumbled the ball.
Right.
And I really laid into him, because he likes that. His dad laid into him.
Right?
He likes that. And steady. Right, nothing. Right, and because he's got it under control. He's steady. You love that in your quarterback. And then we're at Washington. We win a big game. We're about to, we're gonna watch the games tonight to see if we're gonna get in the playoffs. The fans fall on him, and he's steady.
And he barely flinches.
He's barely
flinches.
flinches.
Looks and he's like, I almost broke my leg. No big deal.
And he's there to help people up.
I know.
He's
a cool customer.
And I see this all the time. But it's cool that the outside world gets to see this. That he's just how calm he is. He's a great leader. Because he is steady, and you need that, whether you're 2-5 like we were, or whether you're a 5-game win streak, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to play the next week in this league, as we all know, right? Or you're gonna get your butt kicked.
Yeah, you're gonna get butt kicked, or you're gonna be on the bench. One of the two.
No doubt,
definitely.
no doubt.
All right, I've always loved your offense. I really have. whether it's, now, hey, even you bringing Shane Steichen in from the Chargers, you guys got something going. Where do you guys pull from? What do you do? Like, where, you talked about your brother and having the creativity to go into new stuff. I've always respected that about Frank, Reich, you. It was one of the reasons I thought it could work, because I was like, man, I watch them on offense and I go, they do different stuff. It's game plan specific. Like, where's it all come from for you?
I think the first thing that you have to have is you have to have a library and of things that you want to do and you want to accomplish.
A base offensive plays.
A base offense that because you got to know every ins and out of it. Yeah. I think one mistake that I see that can be made is like, oh my goodness, look at that play that this team ran against this team. I'm running that.
Yeah, right.
Well, do you know everything there is to know about that play?
Do you know all the rules and everything?
All the rules.
Right,
do you know, like, okay, look good versus cover 3.
Yeah, but
and
what
an over
about
front, but what if they play an odd and they're in cover 2?
Yeah,
And so, I was fortunate this year. I had Jim Bob Cooter on our staff,
sure.
And I had worked with him in Kansas City, and he was able to, really do some background on some like different things that we wanted to study. And so it's really diving into the different things you want to study, and doing your homework to, implement some of the different things that you might see. I'm always fascinated to talk to different college coaches. Yeah. My brother's a college coach, a Division III coach.
Right.
So I'm able to pick his brain on some different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, we had Tom Manning, who's the offensive coordinator at Iowa State. He was my college teammate at Mount Union, and we hired him as our tight end coach when we first got to Indy. And some of the RPO stuff that we got to know and learn and some of those different things, that really helped us. But we didn't just see it on tape and pull it in.
Yeah.
We got the background of it, right? And I think that's a big time important part of it, and that you're ready because you're always teaching the quarterback hey, we don't want to run a bad play, and here's what you do against this, and here's what this is good against, here's what this is bad against. So you got to have those answers for the quarterback for him.
Yeah, gray area. The quarterbacks hate gray area, and then you're always wrong in the meeting. The coach always finds a way to make you wrong. I've experienced some of those. So I go, Coach, wait, I did exactly what you said, but this seems gray here, and you're giving me a bad grade on the play.
You played enough football to know.
I played enough football to know. I often think about like offensive head coaches or that so often they hire guys from their own tree, so they never get any other ideas from people, and it doesn't seem like you're afraid to do that and incorporate that. And I talked about Tommy Manning, and then we have Brian Johnson, our quarterback coach here. He was the offense coordinator at the University of Florida. And so the amount of things that he's been able to help us with. Kevin Patullo, who it seems like, who was our pass game coordinator, who's been with me for the last 5 years, right? He was at Texas A&M and some of that stuff. So you're trying to find, again, it's the same thing. I know our stuff. Yeah.
I know all the ins and outs of our stuff.
Right.
I want to know what this guy's stuff is and this guy's stuff is. And so, we'll learn football from everything. I saw something in my son's flag football game in a situational football that I didn't like what they did. Like, we'll learn it from that. I don't care where we take it from. But, and that's just, right, that's just loving the game, right? And that's what's so awesome about this game. There's so many different minds that you can ask questions to and figure things out to put your players. It's all about the players, right? To put them in the best position to succeed.
Yeah. All right. So you had to deal with the Philadelphia media this year a little, which was fun. I enjoyed it. I had some laughs at your expense.
That's okay.
Okay?
That's okay.
You planted a flower, all right?
I did
all
this.
Right? You planted a flower. It grew. It grew into a pretty damn good flower.
It grew, yeah. But after some losses, there were some flowers being thrown at me, right? That's okay.
Were they? They probably were.
Just one time. There was one flower that was thrown at me.
That's probably the nicest thing anybody in Philadelphia has ever thrown, so that's pretty good. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to go to Philadelphia games in Philly.
That was.
My dad was always like, nope. He'd tell my mom, and my mom, Diana, he'd go, no way, you're not going down there with Christopher.
Well, what I was going to compare it to, and so we talked about it, and I think and I know in our team meeting, these guys can help me, our media guys behind me, in our team meeting, I referred to it as a plant.
Right.
For whatever reason, I switched it to a flower. When I
oh, you're less of a man with the flower.
And I really wanted to talk about the bamboo tree, because that's the story is about the bamboo tree.
Sure.
But the bamboo tree takes 5 years to grow.
Yes.
I know we don't have that time.
You'll be fired by then.
We don't have that time. So I didn't go with the bamboo tree.
What I respect about you is I don't know you. This is really the first time I've ever got to talk to you. I've known of people that know you, and they always spoke so highly. But I love that you're natural, man.
I appreciate
you're
that.
Easy, normal, good guy.
Thanks for
and
saying
even
that.
with that, like, okay, you messed up, plant flower. You didn't let it like overtake the world, and
Sure.
you guys continue to kick butt.
Sure, I appreciate that.
I respect that, man.
Thanks a lot.
A lot of that. Thanks for coming in. And
Yeah, it was fun.
spending some time.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.